let's talk about the 6 books that I read in January and February. I had a really good reading month in January, and then in February I think I read 1 book, and that's it. So the first book that I finished in January, started and finished it. I had this bright idea that everybody was doing in January, that I was going to read BookTubers' favorites of 2024. But I didn't want to read the same popular books. I wanted to read some unique books from booktube channels that I don't typically watch. I wanted to find some new booktubers. So the first book that I read was Ordinary Hazards by Anna Bruno. And this was a book from, who was it? Lily Reads, and I'll leave her channel down. I gave this book 4 stars, and it is such a hard book to review and to even recommend. This book is not going to be for everybody. Definitely, before you read it, look up some of the content warnings on it, because there is something that happens in it that I think would be upsetting to a lot of people. This whole book, though, it is a book that reaches in, grabs your heart, and rips it out. It's a book about love and friendship and loss and grief and forgiveness. The ending of this book left me so raw. The acknowledgments in this book, it starts out by saying that this book is a love story. And while that isn't wrong, it's about all the different types of love. Love of yourself. All of those things play into it, but there's also devastation in those loves. And it's about how each of those changes you as a person. And it's about how each of those changes you as a person. This book is ultimately set in a bar. We are following our main character, whose name I can't remember because I am garbage at that kind of thing. But we're following our main character, and this book only lasts about 6 hours in a day. It all takes place in about 6 hours while this main character is sitting in a bar, and she is reflecting on her life over the years. We start out meeting her as a single person, her moving to a small town, and meeting the love of her life, and just little bits of the story that it's a reflection. We get a scene in the bar and what's happening in the bar at that current moment and in her current life, and then it flashes back to a scene from her past as she's thinking about these memories and just kind of reflecting on it. It is a wild story. This journey, the bar scenes alone are a wild story, and the things that happen in it. And I so enjoyed this book. I sat down and started reading it, and I could not stop. Like, I had to stop because I had to sleep and eat. And I think I ended up reading this book in about 2 days. But this book isn't going to be for everyone. If you don't mind devastating books and you can handle the contents, that one specific content that deals with loss and grief, then I think you would probably enjoy this book. And I am so glad that this is the book that I picked up to read from Lily's favorite books of 2024. I cannot express how grateful I am that I got to read this book because she recommended it and it was a favorite of hers. This was the type of book that I was looking for when I had the idea of doing that video. The next book I read in January was Love You Mean It by Jillian Gagnon? Gagnon? I don't know how to pronounce that. I originally got this book from NetGalley as an e-arc, and I am so grateful for that. Thank you so much to NetGalley. This is a rom-com. It is a small town, enemies to lover, fake dating rom-com. All of my favorite tropes rolled into one. The banter between our two main characters, Ellie and Theo, was really good. And I really wish I could read this book again. And that doesn't tell you anything about what the book is about, does it? So this book is about Ellie, who is from this small town. Her family owns a shop. Is it a bagel shop? Bread shop? Deli. It's a deli. And her family, it has been, her grandparents started the shop. Her dad took it over, and now her dad has passed away, and she feels like she needs to take this shop over to keep it in the family legacy. She had been in New York City, and her career just was not going well there. She was trying to get into costume design in the New York theater scene, and that's just a hard path to take anyway. So she moves back home to take over her family deli. Then there is Theo, who is a son of a real estate mogul. Not a nice person. His dad is not a nice person. His family business is buying real estate, specifically like buildings, and they are currently fixing to bring in a conglomerate business that has kind of everything for one of their buildings. This conglomerate they do everything. Sporting goods and little small cafes and little niche shops like that. So Theo is in charge of this building and making it into something. Theo hates this idea. He loves the building and its historical architecture, and he does not want to sell it. Ellie is afraid that bringing in this company is going to destroy her family business and all the little shops on the main road of this small town. So she goes and tries to convince him not to sell it. And why they shouldn't not to sell it, but lease it to this other company. And while she's there, an accident happens, and that's where the story between them really starts off and perpetuates the fake dating type of trope. And of course, you know, they're gonna fall in love in the end, and it's gonna be wonderful, but it is a wild ride along the way. It's fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I would love to go back and experience it all again for the first time. It is definitely a Hallmark type movie. There might even be snow involved. I don't remember. But if you enjoy that type of rom-com, then I definitely highly recommend this book. I gave it 5 stars. 5 stars. That's how much I enjoyed it. The third book I read was Leave the World Behind by Rumen Allen. This book is about a couple who goes to they were in an Airbnb, kind of out in a small community, out of the way on vacation, just to kind of literally get away from the world. It's their family vacation. And in the beginning, like shortly into the story, something happens, maybe even their second day there, they wake up to knocking on the door, and it's the owner of the home, and they're wanting to come back and stay because something catastrophic has happened in New York City, and there is no anything, no power, no communications, and nobody knows what's going on. I hated this book. I think I gave it 2 stars, and hated this book. It was pretentious, and I hated the main character. I hated the wife of the vacationing wife. The story didn't go anywhere. The end was lackluster. I just did not enjoy this book. I wish I'd never read it and wasted my time on it. I will not be seeing the movie about it. Although the movie would probably do a better job. But it felt like the end of this story just was not complete. Like, it ended. And there should have been more. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Hated this book. So the next book that I finished was The Wedding Crashers by Mia Soto. This is another rom-com type book. It's got fake dating trope in it. I was really intrigued with this book. We follow 2 main characters, Solange, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. I read it, so I didn't get the pronunciations. And Dean. Dean was getting married, and Sol overheard his bride-to-be confessing her love to one of the best men. And so when it came time to the marriage, Sol was helping her cousin who was putting on the wedding. She was the wedding planner. And so when it came to the time where they said, till death, does anybody object? She did. She objected. And the marriage did not take place. Dean is an attorney, and there was this, he's trying to make partner. His bosses are trying to bring in another highly and recommended high-profile attorney into their firm who is moving to the area, and Dean really wants to be the one to give her the breakdown and show her a good time in the area and give her this story of the company, because he thinks, the firm, because he thinks that's going to help him make partner. But the partner's already, there's one partner there that does not like him and has been kind of holding him back and voting down any other previous attempts of him becoming partner. And then one of his colleagues is just an awful person who is trying to sabotage Dean in any way possible, and is just a very unlikable person. So when this opportunity comes up to bring in this high-profile attorney, the partner that does not like Dean was concerned that he would not be a good fit for them because he had just recently went through this collapsed marriage. He blurts out that he has been dating somebody and has fallen in love, and it's his soul is who he names, because they're like, well, who is it? Because they don't believe him at all. And so he has to convince Soul to be a fake dating partnership. And so that's kind of where the story jumps off. It is so cute. I really enjoy Dean as a character. I really liked him. I liked Solange. So I don't know how to say that. She's called Soul a lot in the story. So it is a wonderful story. It was very engaging. I really liked it. So I recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. So the next book I read is a nonfiction book. It was one of those books that that was on a booktuber's favorite books of 2024 list. Lani's Library was the one who I got this recommendation from, and it is Of Time and Turtles, Mending the World, Shell by Shattered Shell by Cy Montgomery, and it's illustrated by Matt Patterson. I listened to the audiobook of this because nonfiction just works better as audio for me. I loved this book so much. It was so engaging and so informative. I learned so much about turtles and rescuing turtles and their habits, and just fascinating. If you are into nonfiction books about animals, or what are they? Reptiles? Are turtles reptiles? Anyway, if you like turtles, even if you don't like turtles, I think this is a very engaging story. It takes place in 2020. Part of it in 2020, part of it in other times. But it's about obviously a real life turtle rescue place in New York? The state of New York. Like I said, it was so engaging. It was almost like she was telling a story, but it was the same progression as listening to a fiction story. The storytelling of it was just so amazing, engaging, accessible, and informative. Oh, hiccups. So I highly recommend it. I gave this 5 stars. I always rate nonfiction based on not subject matter, but the story itself, how it's told, if it's engaging, those kinds of things. Because nonfiction can be a little awkward to review if it's especially memoirs, but if the story itself is good and the writing is good, then that's kind of how I base my ratings on nonfiction. But highly recommend it. I am so glad that I chose to pick this book from Lani Library's favorite books of 2024. Very well worth it. Hands down, one of the best nonfiction books I've ever read. And now all I want to do is find books about turtles or watch YouTube videos about turtles. It's just, that's how engaging it was and how much I enjoyed this. The final book that I read, I finished this one in February. It's the only book I read in February. I started this book so long ago, and I think I started in October, and I would listen to a little bit of it, and then I would not listen because I just wasn't in the mood to listen to or read or whatever, and then my audiobook would expire and I would start to get on a hold, and that process. But I finally managed to finish it, and it is one of my favorite books so far. I gave it 5 stars, and that is The Wren and the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. It's the first book in a series, and I don't know how much of this book it stopped recording, so I don't know where I left off. But this book takes place 13 years after a monster war, and they are now in the Monster Treaty version. It's in New York City, and basically the monsters are all of the what would be non-human entities. What do you call them? Werewolves, vampires, wizards, warlocks, witches. Well, have I already said werewolves? Wisps, all of those type of creatures. Fairies is one of them. But all those fantastical creatures are what they call monsters. And the monsters decided they were tired of being in hiding and rose up and basically took over and devastated the human world, destroyed New York City, and it's just, it's starting to come back. We follow our main character, Kierce, I think is how you say her name. I don't remember. But she is a very talented thief, and she goes into I think he's a warlock's home to steal something. And he's like, he catches her and he's like, how did you get in here? Because my house is very much protected by wards. And so he becomes intrigued with her. He kidnaps her and wants her to do a job for him, which is stealing a relic from a monster relic that is hidden in the monster world in the underground. And we follow their story, and it was so engaging and so almost kind of fun. It has, you know, some parts that were a little, I wouldn't say scary, but where you get thriller-ish, where you get where you don't know what's going to happen. And I loved this book so much. So much. I gave this one 5 stars. It is definitely one I want to read the next book in the series and see how it turns out. The ending of it kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger, because we went through this journey and to find out a secret that I don't want to reveal because I don't want to give away, because you find out at the end of the book. But like I said, it is so much fun and intriguing and engaging, and it's an easy read. I am not a huge fantasy person because I don't have that mind's eye where I can picture what's going on. I forget what the technical term is, but I only see vague details. Like, I know I can follow this along pretty well because I know what New York City looks like. I've been there. I've been in the subway system, that kind of thing. So I can picture that. But I can't usually picture a lot of things that I'm just trying to develop the scenery and the world building and all that. It does not work for me. So I usually listen to fantasy, and mostly young adult fantasy, and I think this would qualify as young adult fantasy. So if you've got any recommendations on other books that are similar to this, let me know. This is also a gorgeous book. I love the sprayed edges on this one. I'll be picking up the sequel to this, and I'm anticipating that I'll like it just as much, and I am really looking forward to continuing the story and see where it goes. So that's it. I don't know how else to explain this without giving everything away. I know that I really don't explain books well, but that's what I've got for you. So if you have read any of these books, please let me know. The books that I really enjoyed, please leave me a recommendation for stories that are similar to them. I definitely would like to continue on those types of books, and themes and tropes. If you haven't read these books, let me know if you're going to pick any of them up based on my review of them. Like I said, I had a really good reading month. I've been picking up books other than this hot garbage. I had a really good reading month, mostly 4 and 5 stars. So with that said, I'm going to end this video here. If you've enjoyed it and want to see more of my reviews on books and my thoughts on books and those kinds of things, please hit that subscribe button so you can follow me on this journey of mine. And be sure and leave me a comment. If you don't have anything specific to say, then leave me a bird emoji in the comments. And with that, I will see you in my next video.